The debate. The member for Timiskaming Cochrane.
Thank you, Speaker. It's always an honor to speak in the House. And I hope someone can hand me a briefing note for a second. but I got to say, that the working title is the Get It Done bill, I believe. And a lot of the parts of this bill came out or in the press before we actually saw the legislation. And I have to admit, Speaker, that the first thing that came to my mind when I heard the Get It Done bill, in my part of the world, it's the Getter Done.
That's right.
And I thought, they finally, they've come to a new low. They've hired Larry the Cable Guy to write their legislation. But at least Larry is funny, right? And in my part of the world, when you say get her done, it doesn't really mean quality. It doesn't mean careful. It just means just get her done. You don't hire a carpenter who just gets her done. You don't, it's just not something that exudes confidence. Just isn't. And as we went farther and farther, more reports and more reports.
They're amending the environmental section.
Yeah. No, as we went farther, we some of the things that if you'll recall, the Ford. We've just moved. I thought I had 20 minutes, and I hope you enjoyed that last 10 minutes because it flew by for me. But now, it forced me to lose my place in my well-prepared remarks. So, if you will recall, at some point, the Ford government decided to remove the need for license plate stickers for registration.
I remember that, yes.
Get her done.
Yep.
But they seem to have forgotten that you still needed to remind people to register
That's right.
their plates. So, and when it came to where they realized that is when police started to pull people over because their plates weren't registered. And I know the police were doing that because they pulled me over as well, Speaker. Get her done. So I, like many other Ontarians, we have busy lives and just didn't realize. So, in true, and I don't think it's Larry the Cable Guy fashion, this one's more Homer Simpson. We need to make sure that people don't get charged because we no longer need them to register their cars. But that's a big part of the Get Her Done bill. Get her done. Yeah, get her.
You didn't get that done either.
Get
For your sins, you have to
Get her done. And another something else that the Get Her Done bill can't get the Get Her Done out of my head. And
get it undone.
there's another analogy that I could compare this with, but I'm not sure if I can go there. Okay. Okay. I've been given dispensation from the government House Leader. So this bill, after I thought of Larry the Cable Guy, and then Homer Simpson, what this bill really reminds me of, and my own party might not even like this analogy, the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, yeah.
Not the not the movie. Not the movie. I've never seen the movie. The series. The series, right? You know? And you had Boss Hogg. We all know who Boss Hogg.
That's right.
We all know. We don't have to go any farther with Boss Hogg, right?
Tammany Hall.
But they had. It's a long time, so I'll think if I can think of the. I think the sheriff was Roscoe P. Coltrane.
I think so too.
Was it? You know, and he was the enabler. He was Boss Hogg's enabler, right? Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Pretty good, John.
And then we had. Oh, I gotta get this right. The sheriff, not the sheriff, the deputy, Enos. Oh man, I love Dutch. Enos, and Enos was the apologist, right? He knew deep down, he knew what the boss and what Roscoe were trying to do. Just wasn't 100%. It was more get her done than it was let's make this work and let's make it work for everybody. It was get her done. So the question for me is, who are the Roscoes on the other side, and who are the Enoses? Who are
Yeah, I know.
Enos?
I know the answer to that
I
question.
can't help it that the guy's name was Enos. Come on. You know, I just can't help
But
it.
could Enos get it done? That's the question.
But the get it done bill, it reminds me and many other Ontarians that it seems tired. It seems so. I was recently at the annual banquet of Beef Farmers of Ontario. I'm pretty sure you can't get a much more, and I'm going to be, conservative group than Beef Farmers of Ontario. And we were talking about get it done, and I respect the people out there, and they were conservatives, no doubt about it, and old style conservatives, like do things right, and they described this bill as gimmicky. Even the title, get it done. Come on.
No way to really know.
Come on. Get her done. No. See, this is the bill that takes the tolls off where there are no tolls. Yeah.
Got it.
Getting it done. This is the bill that tries to force future governments to have referendums on carbon pricing, right?
Exactly.
Except for the carbon pricing regime that this government already employs.
Exactly. Your emission performance standards.
Well, but let's make it clear: this government does have a carbon pricing regime.
They collect billions.
And so, but Ontarians can't vote on that one. But any subsequent one, they could have a referendum. Now, there's many other things that they could have had referendums.
Yep.
Perhaps referendum on the Greenbelt before they.
That would have been good.
Yeah, could have saved yourselves. And to the government's credit, they made a mistake, they retracted. But if they had a referendum early on, do you want to destroy the Greenbelt? You know what? I think Ontarians would have said a loud no. Would have saved them a lot of grief.
There also expedite expropriations.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even. I would have gotten into the in-depth of the expropriation stuff if I hadn't lost 10 minutes somewhere. You know?
Just like this. It was gone.
Yeah, but just. Okay. How many? Anyway, Speaker, I believe my time is up.
Oh, yeah.
And a well-deserved round of applause. It's now time for questions. I recognize the member for Brampton North.
Thank you, Speaker, and congratulations to the member on a wonderful speech. I know the member's from Northern Ontario. I am from Brampton, which is north of here, but not quite North Ontario, and I heat my home with natural gas, so I pay a carbon tax on that. I drive into work. Took the train today, but about half the time I drive into work, pay the carbon tax on that one. When I go to the grocery store, I'm not old enough to remember what groceries used to cost, but they certainly seem to cost a lot of money. I'm paying the carbon tax on that. So I guess I'm wondering, the member, I presume he heats his home and drives a car and pays for groceries, so I'm wondering how much carbon tax does the member pay? And I guess if we had a referendum on implementing a carbon tax, how would the member vote on that referendum? Would he vote yes or would he vote no?
Back to the member for Timiskaming Cochrane.
Thank you, and thank you to the member from Brampton. That's actually a great question. I don't pay as much current carbon tax as some of you might think because I heat with wood, so I spend a lot of time chopping wood. But if we had to, we have voted several times in this House against the federal carbon tax. We, as a party, have never supported the current federal carbon tax. We do believe there should be some kind of pricing regime to, as we voted for cap and trade, which is actually pretty close to what what your government has implemented. Yeah, you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it, but we have never been in favor of the carbon tax. At least I have never voted for the carbon tax, and I've been here for a long time. Thank you.
For the questions, I recognize the member for Humber River Black Creek.
Speaker, you can't make this up. So, this government put out these blue plates not that many years ago. And those plates couldn't be seen in bad weather, couldn't be seen in the light of day, they couldn't be seen in the night. And it was an embarrassment, right? Because border officials, officers were saying, guys, get it done, get these plates off. They're a safety issue. They're a safety issue. Over 150,000 on the road. And so what did this government do? The minister came out and he announced a plan. You know what he announced the plan to get it done was? To let weathering and rust take care of the plates. The plan was to do nothing. So my question is, why can't this government get it done right?
Back to the member for Timiskaming Cochrane.
Thank you to the member from Humber River Black Creek, right? The blue plates. Oh, man. That's a case of getting her done. Getting it done, right? And basically, no one was asking for the blue plates, right? Turns out that no one could see the blue plates at night. So I distinctly remember we're going to find a way to remove the blue plates, right? That was, and now they found a way. They're just going to wait till they fall off. Which is kind of funny because you'd think if you're designing a new plate, you would want one that would last a long, long time. Right? Like, if you're not happy with the old ones, you're going to design something like they're kind of more plastic. I don't know. They're much different. So I'm assuming they designed them to last a lot longer. But it doesn't seem to be the case. So the new plan is we just wait long enough and they'll fall apart. And that seems to be like kind of emblematic about how a lot of things in this government run. Just wait long enough and it'll fall apart.
For the questions, I recognize the member for Thornhill.
Madam Speaker, the Get It Done Act is probably one of the best names I can think of for everything that our government has been doing for the last few years, several years, I should say. So I actually got into politics, and I appreciate that the member is concerned about his constituents and his community as well as anybody in this room. But I remember knocking on doors when I wasn't a politician and wondering, and I represent Thornhill. It doesn't have a subway. It hadn't had a subway. It hadn't gone north of Finch for decades. And it was traumatic, literally, to get cars up and down the corridor. And I would knock on doors, as I said, as a young mother, saying, when are we going to get this infrastructure in? When is it going to happen? Previous governments did not get it done.
Question?
But God bless us, because you know what? I'm at Finch subway station, and they're digging and they're getting things ready. We're getting it done, and that's what we do.
A response?
For that question, and I don't have a lot of expertise in subways, you know. Although when I go to the local subway, teriyaki chicken is my favorite. I just gotta say, but I do recall, long before I was here, that actually, and we're going to get a lot of complaints from the other side, but the Ray government was building a subway, and the Harris government came and filled it with concrete, capped it off. So that was more kind of like the Greenbelt, getting her done, wanting to pave it over and then having to back off, challenging the Constitution,
Response?
getting her done, having to back away. That's emblematic of getting her done.
For the questions, I recognize the member for London Fanshawe.
Speaker, this government fails to see the ramifications, even if it's smallest changes to legislation that affects people's lives, who literally have to pay the price. They pay figuratively and literally. I also think this government's tendency to pass hasty legislation and figure it out later is negatively impacting our community time and time again. So I'll give an example. Tom is one of my constituents. He got pulled over and got a $300, yeah, imagine that. It is my constituent. It's in writing. Tom got a ticket because his driver's license expired. $300, Speaker. Now, Tom honestly and genuinely did not know his license was expired because this government stopped sending out notices to people, but they forgot to tell people. So I'd like to ask the member, now that Tom has received a $300 fine, what would you think this government would say to Tom, and will they take ownership for the mismanagement that they've created for people like Tom who got $300 fines for not having a license?
Thank you to my colleague for that question, and if I was Tom, I'd be pretty upset. Because when the government made a really big deal about taking off the registration fee, it was very far down the fine print that you still had to register. And you know what? People don't, and we all know this, people don't look at the fine print. People don't, when I didn't get the paper anymore that I needed to redo, right? Now, yeah. Now I get a notice. But now with the Get Her Done Act, I don't need to notice anymore, I guess. Right? Like, really working for the people. Like first, we have people like Tom paying big fines. Government in control takes action, getting her done so that other people won't get fines anymore for something they shouldn't have been fined for in the first place.
Thank you. Next question. The member for Ottawa South.
Thank you, Speaker. And I agree with the member from Thornhill. This government is certainly digging. They've been digging a hole for a long time, and the deeper and deeper it gets. But I want to ask you about tolls. So so the government says we're banning tolls. The news release goes out all across Ontario. The news headlines, we're banning tolls. But in actual fact, they're part of a party that actually ensured that there would be tolls on the 407 in perpetuity and that they would increase. But here's the kicker. They got a piece of highway from Brock to, not quite going up to Peterborough or the 115 that they own. So they're outlawing tolls, except they're not outlawed on the piece of road that they own. Can you explain that to me?
Member for Timiskaming Cochrane to respond.
Yes, they say you never learn anything in this place, and that's not true. That's not true. So before a few weeks ago, myself and most of Ontarians thought that the 407 had all been leased for 99 years in a very bad deal from the Conservatives. But turns out there's a chunk of the 407 East, that still belongs to the province. That's news to many of us. And there are tolls on that chunk of highway. But in this new bill, they're removing all tolls. They're removing all tolls, but hoping that people don't realize that there's a chunk of highway owned by the province where they're still collecting tolls. It's like having a referendum on taxes unless they impose them. It doesn't make any sense, Speaker. Thank you.